Why, in your opinion, do I tend to gravitate towards things that take my energy when I want to rest?
Yeah.
So when I want to rest and renew,
Yeah.
why do I gravitate towards, you know, alcohol, overeating, vegging out on TV, having extra caffeine, all those things?
Yeah. This is a really good question. And another way of framing it would be for me, I I use this question a lot is like, why do I what payoff do I get from my bad habits?
Yeah.
Right? Let's go back to some of our training around the three laws of performance um and think through, why am I benefiting? What is the perceived value in me choosing these low thought, low intensity, highly passive ways of quote unquote rest,
Mhm.
as opposed to like, hey, I'm going to go on a walk. I'm going to put some music on, right? I'm going to wear a tank top and get some sun, right? I gravitate towards just sort of collapse, what I call collapse, right?
Yeah.
I swing into overwork or what I would call like a toil, and then the
Yeah.
pendulum swings back to a form of collapse. So I get to the
Yeah.
end of my day or my night, I pour myself a whiskey, and I watch. We just got done watching Travelers on Netflix. Super weird show, and I basically binge watched it for like a week, right? And I'm like, huh, I feel worse. I feel worse now, right?
Mm.
So I think that I choose that because I have over indexed into work in the first place. I've actually, um, I've dispersed and I've put out more energy than what I should have in the first place. And I, I don't want to put the thought and the intentionality into eating a healthy snack. And do you know what I mean? Like I've
Yeah.
overdone it. And so
Yeah.
because I've overdone it, I no longer have the energy to be thoughtful about my rest and my renewal. And
Yep.
so how do I actually begin to build margin in my schedule so that number one, I'm not overdoing it. And if I overdo it, I'm limiting the bad options that I have, right? So one of the things that I've changed is like I'm on decaf, right? Which for me, like you know me well enough to know that like uh
Mhm.
uh this is a massive deal for me because I've for the last, probably 8 or 9 years since I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, I've propped myself up with caffeine like pretty heavily to the point where I'm like, hey, I'm 32 ounces of coffee a day, which is a little too much. I mean, it's not like
Mhm.
I'm not going to like, keel over. I'm not going to like stroke out from that much coffee,
Yeah.
but I'm most certainly not like helping my body. Right. So to go to decaf for me is a move towards healthy energy renewal and moving away from those kinds of low value, dirty fuel styles of renewal, like we talked about with Justin Benson. So that's my thought on that. Do you have any? I don't know how clear that was, or if you'd add or
Yeah,
maybe
that's
delete
good.
there,
I
but
I I think the challenge is, how often do we actually renew our energy? It's not, you talked about it in a fascinating way, and it was exactly where I was going, which is this idea that, like, it's like, if you went to college, which you did, and you study really hard for midterms, right? And you don't sleep, you don't do anything, and then when you come home, you crash. Like, and I just remember coming home and like, you just wanna go hang out with your friends, and you're like, "Man, now I'm sick, I'm exhausted, I need to sleep for, like, a week." So much energy was used to get there that when you get to the spot that you actually wanted, you didn't get to do the things that you wanted to do as much, right? And I think oftentimes, at least that's the way that I feel. I get to Friday and it's like, oh God, I finally made it. But
Mhm.
then we give into, our devices or our things that, like,
Oh
done
yeah,
in small portions can be totally fine, but done to excess are actually going to drain us. and
right.
not restore us.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. A little bit of caffeine, wonderful, right? A beer with a
yeah,
friend, that's great. Surfing, your social media channels, that's awesome, right?
yeah,
But when we start talking about, using things like pornography, like binge watching, shows that are really low value and don't
yeah,
really mean anything to us, or, you know, engaging in like, excessive alcohol use, like overeating, unhealthy foods, like those things are so damaging, right? Um, and oftentimes, we don't see the damage in the short term. Maybe with alcohol we do, just because it's so, like, literally poison. But with the other things, we might not see negative consequences for weeks, months, or years.
right,
And so we really have this long sort of perceived long, um, tail on the consequences of all those things. But I do
yeah,
think that they sneak up on us, and they come quickly once they do come. And so, yeah, I'm totally with you that what we have to do is we have to manage our energy more carefully so that we have the energy to choose healthy renewal and
right.
not these kinds of numb, um, or in the case of, like, caffeine and sugar, like really high spike styles of
Sure.
renewal.
Yeah, I kind of see it as like we kind of think, hey, we're it's like we have our cell phone. We're going to try and run all the way to the end of the week, and the battery's going to go to zero, and then we're going to plug it in on the weekend, and yet the battery that we're plugging it into is super weak because there's no intentionality to it, right?
Yeah.
It's all these things that don't actually give us the energy that we want. They are more just an escape, and
Mhm.
escape does not give you an escape is not bad, but escape done to excess can
Oh, yeah.
be very damaging, right? So
Yeah.
escape, I want to hang out with my friends and be intentional. Awesome. Escape, I'm going to get obliterated this weekend, drinking, 18 beers and, then I'm going to have a headache the next day. And I can see that the energy's not there. So
Yeah.